Haven't you heard the great news? Now you can self-identify as anything as you want, and everyone is expected to go along with it. Oh, just because of your feelings. You don't even need to go to therapy. I'm sure no one's going to abuse that whatsoever. Whatsoever. I hope people that push this narrative, I hope they self-identify as stupid. Let's talk about it.
I'm not into all the other bullshit. I think
What other bullshit?
the they and them.
Yeah.
And all that extra shit that we added during the pandemic because everyone was so bored on their fucking houses. They just started to make up more shit and more shit.
More stuff.
Yeah. That's where the conservatives like me because I'm just real.
Yeah, you do have a conservative
You're not
vibe
they
to
and
you.
them. You're trans, you're male, or you're female.
And you're standing on that.
So mad when I say that. How are you a they? What the fuck does that mean? It's stupid is what it is.
Yeah.
But you need someone like me that looks like me to say it. Because if you say it, it turns into you're homophobic, you hate trans people, you hate gays. And it's just how you feel. You don't hate anyone. You just think it's stupid.
What exactly is self-identification for a transgender individual? I'm just going to read it directly from the web, and let's get to it. It says gender self-identification or gender self-determination is the idea that a person's gender identity should determine their legal gender without the need for medical requirements. It's a major goal of the transgender rights movement. So before we go into this, I want you to consider exactly the good parts of this, the bad parts of this, the stuff where it's kind of like murky and you're not so sure. I want to dive down into all of the schools of thoughts here. So to start off, I want to argue the point of people who are pushing this narrative that self-ID is a good thing, even though I don't believe it is. The whole premise around it states that people who are trans know that they're trans, they are born this way, so therefore we should try to get rid of all gatekeeping or as much gatekeeping as possible. I'm sure nothing's going to go wrong with this, right? We'll get into that later. So this means that they no longer need to get therapy, they no longer need to go see a doctor of any sort in order to get their legal markers changed, and also to say that they belong in the restroom of the opposite sex that they were born as. This is problematic for so many reasons. Whenever you have people who are pushing back against this narrative of self-ID culture, the people who are for it and trying to push the self-ID culture make several arguments. These arguments come from, oh, it's only a small percentage of the trans community, or they say, oh, that person wasn't really trans, or they just ignore it completely and don't address it. Identification culture, and for those who oppose it or have an issue with it and speak up, usually make arguments along the line that someone can just put on some clothes, or even just some man just waltz into the women's locker room, and because they say that they're trans, everyone just has to go along with it. Usually when people do this, the rest of the community will tell them that they are transphobic and try to silence them. However, their fears, their thoughts are valid, and I think that we should listen up. The reason I think that we should listen up is because there are bad actors out there, as I stated in my very first YouTube video, that will take advantage of these laws, and they will actually use them to exploit women in their most vulnerable space. Sometimes you'll have like a cross-dresser who wants to just go into the locker room and live out their fantasy, whether it's sexual or not. It's not okay. Additionally, I think that self-ID culture is a bad thing because it bypasses therapy, and sometimes you have these people who will self-ID and go into these locker rooms and they're not actually trans. They think that they're trans, or they have some other thing going on in their head where they're not trans. And as I stated in my very first video, there are a lot of other psychological issues and disorders that have the same symptoms of gender dysphoria that is found in transgender individuals. I think one of the biggest reasons why there's so much pushback, especially for trans women in the women's restroom and locker rooms, for instance, is actually because of self-identification culture and also trying to get rid of the gatekeeping practices, as they say, to bypass therapy and doctors. They are told that they just have to take these people at word value and that there is no checks and balances. This enables people to become bad actors, state that they're trans, even if they're not trans. And being a woman, they are constantly on the lookout for danger. They don't know if someone's going to follow them, if they're going to have someone try to take advantage of them, hit them, stalk them, do something with their kids or something like that. It's a constant like looking around saying, hey, how much of a threat are you? And I think the self-identification culture just makes it a lot worse for them. Otherwise, I feel like if we went back to not allowing self-identification culture where people had to go to therapy, they had to go to a doctor, for instance, that they could at least have some reassurance that whenever they see a trans person in the bathroom, that they actually probably belong there and should belong there. To close up this video, I want to restate that I am against self-ID culture, and I want to give you all some homework. I want you to contemplate and think of situations where self-ID culture could or has affected you and write them in the comments down below. Until the next video, I love you so much and have a good one. Bye. So this is future Cassie, adding in one last thing. Last month I went to go see Blair White in Nashville, Tennessee. And I just wanted to post the video of her walking down the stage from my perspective. She's actually what got me to start my YouTube channel in the first place. So if you do not know her or you haven't seen any of her videos, I highly recommend you do so. She has a lot of great content. I'll post links for her in the description below. Thank you. Bye.